We started coming to Life Church back in 2013, and shortly after we started and getting to know the staff a little bit, I had a chance to sit down with Pastor Aaron at lunch. At the time, growing up Catholic and in some Lutheran, tithing was never an intentional part of our life. In the conversation with Pastor Aaron, he challenged us. He challenged me and said, if you will be faithful and connect with Kim and your family and intentionally tithe for 90 days, whatever that means, I'm not going to check on the numbers, but I believe God will start to work in your life. So went back home and Kim and I had a conversation. I said, hey, we're going to try to do this. And at that time, that wasn't nothing for us. That was something that we've never done this before. We had to think about budget and everything, but we wanted to lean in faith.
Yeah.
And so we started to do that. And well within that 90 days, and I'm getting chills talking about it as I always do, God started to show up in ways that could only be explained as God. And so what the conversation started about with tithe being obedience, it led to God's abundance. One of the things that showed up was an opportunity for me on the job front that I was doing well and comfortable, but a door opened up that completely changed our financial aspect for our life. And so although we weren't struggling or anything like that, by us leaning in with that 10%, as Pastor Aaron always said, God bless the 90% and then some.
Yeah. Another thing is, like, when we first started doing that, I just remember you saying, Pastor Aaron said, you can't outgive God. And every time we were blessed with more, we gave more, and it was like a snowball effect. And that led to lots of things.
And I almost say, and I don't mean to trivialize it, I say it became a game. It's where God would continue to bless us. So like, oh, well, now we can give more, and even watch this, and then we'd do more. And so we intentionally use a saying in our family of blessed to be a blessing.
Yeah.
But truly is God was blessing us so we could be a blessing. And the more we blessed others, the more God blessed us.
Years ago, when we were in another church in St. Louis, we had 3 young kids. My wife was a stay-at-home mom, and I'm 100%, commissioned salesperson. So of course, I'm fearful. I'm only trusting in me, and I know that I have to go to work to provide for the family. And we started going to church, and we started giving, and we started a building fund at the church. And I was very reluctant to give. Matter of fact, I was had prayed upon it. God had put it on our hearts what we were supposed to give. But instead of doing that, a buddy of mine came to me with a real estate deal. It was too good to be true, and of course it was. And of course, long story short, it went belly up. When we moved here 10, 15 years ago, we started coming to Life Church about 2012, and when we were, they started Heart for the House. And during that time, my wife we looked at each other. We knew right then we had designated some money for something else, but we knew that's where that money was supposed to go.
God is greater than anything that we can give up. And when I give, it helps me to remember that, He's our supplier for all of our needs. And so we've just been blessed and, just trusting Him with everything as we should, and just seeing the blessings from that. And when we're obedient to God, God blesses those who are, obedient to that. So we're just blessed to be here at Life Church.
I grew up in a Christian home. We were at church during the week. Most weeks we were there every time the church doors were open. And I know my dad gave money in the offering plate every week. I watched him do it, but we didn't talk about offerings, giving, tithing. It wasn't something that we made an issue of. I grew up in a home that didn't have a lot, and so we knew that whatever was given was a bit of a sacrifice, but tithing wasn't a concept that we talked about.
I also grew up in a home where my parents loved the Lord, and they taught me early in life about tithing and about the worship of tithing, but they also taught me about generous living above and beyond. It was called the offering, and what we could give of ourselves, not just of finances, but of our time and our talents and our lives. And so I grew up with 2 excellent role models of generosity who easily translated that to me. My heart was ready for that. So you might imagine that when Dave and I got married, he was a finance guy. We had to have some discussions about how we were going to steward the resources that God was going to give us as we entered life together.
For most of our early days, I was the sole breadwinner, so it felt like a heavy responsibility. And the concept of tithing wasn't something that I had much experience with. And I probably wrestled, like many people do, with the concept of tithing being, is that a requirement? Is it an Old Testament concept, or is it something that is part of the New Testament covenant? And so we worked through that as a couple. And once I got a good dose of what tithing was and what it wasn't, that it was a matter of the heart. It wasn't a matter of law. It wasn't a matter of money. It was the heart. And Laura helped teach me that. And so once we got that solidified as a couple, we never looked back. And for 47 years, that was a key part of our life journey.
So early in our marriage, as I would write the check out for our monthly giving, we would find ourselves with our tithe check and then a small amount to missions perhaps, or to some special offering that came along during the month. And now in our retirement years, as I write the check out each month, our income is not what it was in the prime of life. And so the tithe is less than what we give to Greater, what we give to missions, what we do for special requests or people in our lives that find themselves hurting or in need. And it's exciting to live in a place now where we're giving more than the tithe to things that really matter and that make a difference for eternity. We are so grateful that we are able to live in that spot right now. And it all goes back to just faithfulness of God all these years, just being faithful to Him. And He has been so faithful to us that it allows us to give generously, above and beyond.